There's an axiom from the school of the red and blue, where I come from, red and blue, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, that says, all is one and one is all. Effectively, there is only one thing to study. There is nothing else to study. And so very briefly, I want to harmonize the ecliptic of the sun, astrology, cosmogony, and the BODMAS rule. I almost said the BODMAS rule. The BODMAS rule. Here it goes. So here it is. BODMAS. BODMAS. Where do we begin? We begin at 0. We said, where is the 0 in the 24-hour clock? We said it's at midnight. Where is the 0 around the year? We said that is the winter solstice. Now, spheres of matter form within a cubic wave field of tenuous space. Spheres of matter form within cubes. Now, in mathematics, this cube is called the bracket. This is the stepping out of the winter solstice, or the stepping out of that midnight hour. When matter starts taking shape, when matter starts taking shape, it starts taking shape around a cube, or a cube of gases. Now what happens within the cube, or the bracket as it's put in mathematical language, yes, mathematics is a language and BODMAS can help us conceptualize form mathematically, help us conceptualize the formation of matter in the language of maths. Spheres of matter are expressions of power or desire, inkanuko, where within the bracket or the cube that I just highlighted, spheres of matter form or are bound by wave cubes of gases in space. Now, Baba Mutwa, in getting into this or prying into this, says in Indaba, my children, River Time desired or had inkanuko for the nothingness like a flesh and blood beast. Power is the expression of desire, the desire that comes out of the zero or the fulcrum of all potential. In the BODMAS rule, after the brackets, what comes? It's the power. Now look where the power is. From Pisces going into Aries. That's the morning. From the darkness of morning into the twilight of sunrise. I hope I'm saying it right. Ukusa, when the sun dips out of the horizon. In the creation account again, Kababu Mutwa, the mating between river time and nothingness gives birth to the living spark. In the east, what do we see? We see the rising of the flame, or the living spark, which does what? Which cannibalizes on its mother, the darkness, or the no thing, until it becomes at midday a universal roaring flame. You see the sign of Cancer there? That is midday. That is how Baba Moto puts it. Now, upon realizing what the spark had done, River Time sends the spirit of cold to punish the living spark. The spirit of cold soon realizes that the more I try to actually vanish the spirit of the flame, the hotter it becomes. And the spirit of the flame realized the same thing. The more I try to vanish or vanquish the spirit of cold, the colder it becomes. The spirit of hotness and the spirit of coldness. Then Ubaba goes on to say, all life in the universe, whether perceptible or imperceptible, is born from the warm ashes of this unceasing battle between the spirit of cold and the living flame. Now, Dr. Walter Russell expands the cosmology of this principle like this. He says, the spirit of hot compresses cold, tenuous space into hot spheres of matter. Matter comes into form as a sphere. It starts off as a ring, then it forms a spheroid until it becomes a sphere. Now, how does this happen? It happens through division. It happens through division. Once we go through the sunrise in Aries, we enter Taurus and Gemini. The dualizing of the aspect starts in Taurus, and then it is fully manifested in Gemini, gemination. Hot spheres of matter are created through the division of the one universal whole into two opposing forces, the spirit of hot and the spirit of cold, two opposing forces. In the BODMAS rule, after powers comes division. Now, all motion and vibration in the universe is predicated upon the division or the principle of germination. For there to be life, we depends on the what? The one becoming two. That is why now when we do the numbering system, some they will put 2 here, or they will put it over there, as in 1, 2. 2 mbili, the bull. Or in some cultures, they put it here at the Gemini twins. The 2. That is where the division happens. In the Bible, we are talking about David and Jonathan. The one universal whole is divided into 2 opposing electrical forces. We call these forces now many names. We've given them many names: gravitation and radiation, north and south, cathode and anode, charging, discharging, high pressure, low pressure. We have many names for it. We have many names. Let me move on. Now, the spirit of hotness compresses centripetally from outside coming in, creating hot spheres of mass. This is happening against the spirit of cold, which expands masses centrifugally from in going outward into a cold space. The tensions and strains of opposition created within the cube as this happens multiply the expression of power within the cube. As the sphere now fills out the volume of the cube, it adds to its mass. So we've gone now from multiplication, now we are adding to our mass. We've now dealt with the cube or the bracket, the powers, the division, the multiplication, and now we are adding, or we are at the adding. Now, why is this adding? We divided here. Through division, we come to germination. And then the sun gets to its highest position in Cancer, where it ripens that which we have planted at the beginning of the whole season. The beginning of the whole season in the southern hemisphere begins in July at the spotting of Isilimela, or yes, mid-July or early August, when we see the star cluster, the Pleiades, Isilimela, rising above the horizon. This you can see from the 21st of June going into the 4th of July, which marks the start of the civil year in the Southern Hemisphere, in South Africa. That is where we begin. We divide, we've multiplied now the seed that is in the ground, and then we add it. This is where now we are at, this is Virgo, and the scales of Libra, that is harvest. That is harvest. And it is here that now from here begins the principle of subtraction, or the principle of voidance or decay. Yes, BODMAS is comparable to the cycle of birth, growth, maturity, and the decay or the voidance that sets in after harvest, as the sun will be dipping below the horizon at the scales of Libra. Once the mass or the sphere reaches maturity or the ripe age, the subtraction cycle must begin. For example, once fruit reaches maturity, we harvest it. This marks the beginning of the subtraction. If you let a pear sit long enough, for example, you will be able to see it lose its form, which it got here, and mass, you'll see it shrivel up. Then it will slowly disintegrate into the cube field from where it came from, or the cube field surrounding it, until there is nothing left. That is when we go back here. In mathematical language, this is called subtraction. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is BODMAS. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the ecliptic of the sun. That, ladies and gentlemen, is cosmogony. That, ladies and gentlemen, is cosmology.